I am. Let's do this. I'm down. No doubt about that. We are in effect, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world. Y'all know what time it is when y'all see me. It is Chilltown Hoops. You know what we do. We talk pro basketball here, the good, the bad, the indifferent, and we don't waste any time here. And I saw something that was pretty interesting, and that was the Mount Rushmore of teams. Like if you think about the teams in the league and you think about the history of these teams, like who are the best players to ever play for these organizations? And, some people might think it's a little bit different. Might some people might look at these teams and go, well, is LeBron James on the Mount Rushmore? Is he on the Mount Rushmore of two teams? Is Dominique Wilkins on the Mount Rushmore? Is Bob Pettit on the Mount Rushmore? Well, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just a matter of where are they on the Mount Rushmore of teams. If you think about these teams, like, for example, the St. Louis Hawks, which ultimately turned into the Atlanta Hawks, well, they have a rich history. I mean, the St. Louis Hawks been around since the 50s. So we're talking over 70 years they've been around. And, the Lakers been around since the 50s. They were in Minneapolis, and they moved from Minneapolis to Los Angeles. And with them moving from Minneapolis to Los Angeles, it became something a little bit different. And I think that I think that it's interesting that we look at these teams that we have in the NBA. Right? I think it's interesting that we look at these teams that we have in the NBA and we get wrapped up in what's going on with them right now. Right? It's interesting that we look at these teams and we get wrapped up in what they have going on right now, and because of that, right? Because of that, we forget what was going on with them years ago, right? So I think that talking about all-time great players for NBA teams, all right, well, what did you do for these teams? That's the $1 million question. What did you do for these teams? How long did you do it? And if you didn't do it for a long period of time, what you did, was it exceptional? Was it extraordinary? For example, LeBron James only played 4 years for the Miami Heat. In the 4 years that he played for the 4 years that he played for the Miami Heat, right? In the 4 years that he played for the Miami Heat, turns out he's the only league MVP that they had, and he won it in back-to-back seasons. They went to the NBA championship. He's won finals MVP for them twice. He only did this in 4 years. That's an exception, right? But is Dwayne Wade a better Miami Heat player all around? He might not be a better player than James, but is he a better Miami Heat? Yes. I think that's completely different. 100%. So I'd like to start, right? I'd like to start with thinking about, right? I'd like to start with thinking about, players like, teams like Atlanta, like Atlanta. Uh, who's on the Mount Rushmore of the Atlanta Hawks, right? Who did the Atlanta Hawks have when they first started? Well, we got to go back in history with the Atlanta Hawks, because remember, the Atlanta Hawks didn't start as the Atlanta Hawks. They didn't start as the St. Louis Hawks. They didn't start as the Milwaukee Hawks. They started as the Tri-City Hawks. So they go way back for 70, 80 years almost, right? Over 75 years that they started. And in the process of them doing that, I could look at guys like Bob Pettit, right? I could look at guys like Bob Pettit and go, all right, is Bob Pettit on the Mount Rushmore of Atlanta of Hawk players? Considering that they did move, right? Considering that they did move, but is Bob Pettit on the Mount Rushmore of Hawk players? Yes, he is. 100% he is. When he retired, he was an all-time leading scorer in NBA history when he retired. He was the all-time leading rebounder in NBA history when he retired. He was a phenomenal player. He averaged 26 and 16 for his career. They won the NBA championship with him. He's the only league MVP that they've ever had in with the Hawks. So we clear. So with that being said, right? With that being said, Bob Pettit is definitely. I feel like Bob Pettit is definitely on that list. And then if I think about the other guys that played there, right? When I think about the other guy, like Walt Bellamy played for the Hawks, and Walt Bellamy played when they moved to Atlanta, and they moved to Atlanta at the end of the '60s. But remember who Walt Bellamy is, right? Walt Bellamy is an all-time great who spent the majority of his career. I mean, he played like 5 or 6 years with Atlanta, but his best years were early on. They were in Baltimore. That's what his best years were, in Baltimore, in Chicago, with the Knicks, teams like that. Like, he was a journeyman. If we being honest about him, and he played in Atlanta for 4.5 years. So I mean, I don't think Walt Bellamy is. I don't think Walt Bellamy is an all-time. I don't think he's on the Mount Rushmore of. I don't think he's on the Mount Rushmore of Hawks. Lenny Wilkens, on the other hand, I think it's a little bit different, right? I think Lenny Wilkens is a little bit different. I got a different mentality when it comes to Lenny Wilkens. I have a difficult time calling somebody an all-time great when you never made an all-pro team. However, this is what it is when it comes to the Hawks. And was Lenny Wilkens better than Doc Rivers? Considering his resume, yes. I mean, I could look at his career, and I could definitely look at his career and go, I don't know, man. I mean, in terms of players, I mean, I could definitely look at his career and be like, yeah, well, maybe not. But in terms of his career, yeah. If I look at his resume, yeah, he was definitely better than Doc Rivers when he was there in St. Louis. He was an all-star, I think 4 times when he was with Doc Rivers. I mean, with the St. Louis Hawks, made the all-star team. Now, in the process of that, I mean, he finished second in league MVP votes. That's a pretty big deal. So the Mount Rushmore of the Hawks would probably be, peace, God, the Mount Rushmore of the Atlanta Hawks, of not the Atlanta Hawks, but the Hawks, because they went from Tri-City to Milwaukee, from Milwaukee to St. Louis, and then from St. Louis to Atlanta, which is what they are today. So with that being said, I think it's Bob Pettit, Dominique Wilkins, Lenny Wilkens, Atlanta Hawks. Maybe Trae Young, because I think about Joe. Because I think about right. Because I think about Joe Johnson. Right. I think about Joe Johnson. Hey, Raptors insider, go get a life, man. Go do something with yourself. I'm working over here. Go do something with your useless life. I can understand that you're useless because you're a Raptors fan, but go do something with your useless life. So something else, because I'm working over here. Go do something with yourself. Go cheer. Go watch some old Raptors film when y'all won the NBA championship. So, like I was saying, Joe Johnson played a bunch of years for the Raptors. Joe Johnson played a bunch of years for the Hawks. I'm sorry. In addition to Joe Johnson playing a bunch of years, Al Horford played a bunch of years for them. Lou Williams played a bunch of years for them. But we're talking about the Mount Rushmore, the 4 best players in that franchise's history. I think Bob Pettit is on there. I think Neek is on there. I think Joe Johnson has an argument, but Lenny Wilkins to be what Lenny Wilkins was, finishing second in league MVP votes, making an all-star team, I think 5 of the 7 years that he played there. I think he played there 5 years. He played there 7 years. I'm sorry. 8 years. I'm sorry. He played there 8 years. And in the 8 years that he played there, I think that there's an argument for Lenny Wilkins. I'm going to say Bob Pettit, Dominique Wilkins, Dikembe Mutombo is the best defensive player that they ever had, and he played there. Did Dikembe Mutombo play there long enough for him to be on the Mount Rushmore of great Atlanta Hawk players? He played there 4 years, and in the 4 years, he played there 4.5 years, and in the 4 years that he played, in the process of him winning Defensive Player of the Year, he also didn't make He also didn't make first team all defense. I know that sounds ridiculous. I thought Scottie Pippen should have won it in '97. I thought he should have won it in '96 too, but that's just me. So with the Atlanta Hawks, I'm going to say Bob Pettit, Neek, Mutombo. It's either Lenny Wilkins or Trae Young. I'm going to say Lenny Wilkins. Then you move on to then you move on to the Cavs, right? Then you move on to the Cavs. Now I can talk about the Cavs, and I think I already know who is. I think I already know who's on there. All time on their Mount Rushmore. And the reason why I think that is because I think about the great players that played there. So James is the best player that they've ever had. He played 11 seasons there. He played 7 from 2003 to 2010, 03, 04, 04, 05, 05, 06, 06, 07, 07, 08, 08, 09, 9, 10. He played seven seasons there. I think he's their all-time leading rebounder. I think he's their all-time assist leader. I think he's their all-time points leader. So I think James is on that list. I think Brad Daugherty is there, 4-time All-Star. I think Mark Price is there. In the process of Mark Price being there, then it gets tricky because Kevin Love played a lot of years with the Cavs, but the difference with that is Zydrunas Ilgauskas is I think he's the all-time rebounding leader, and in addition to him being their all-time rebounding leader, I also think that he's their all-time shot block leader too, if I'm not mistaken. When I think about what he's done for them throughout the course of his career, yeah, I think he's their all-time shot block leader too, which, you can't. I don't think we can fight that. I don't think that we can fight that at all. I'm going to say James. I'm going to say James. I'm going to say Mark Price. I'm going to say James. I'm going to say Mark Price. I'm going to say James. I'm going to say Mark Price. I'll say Brad Daugherty. And that fourth one is between Ilgauskas. I think that fourth one is between Ilgauskas and Kevin Love. Yeah. I think that fourth one is between Ilgauskas and Kevin Love. Kevin Love and I think Kevin Love. I think he played. I think Kevin Love played. He got there in 14. He played there 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think Kevin Love played there 7 years. In the 7 or 8 seasons he played there. He played there 8 years. Yeah, I think it's Kevin Love. Kyrie Irving played there from 2011 to 2016. He played there 5 years. What did Kyrie Irving do that was extraordinary? Because again, I think about what I think about exactly what like I when I think about what I think about what you do throughout the course of your career, and I think about how long you did it. And if you were there for a short period of time, did you do something that was extraordinary? Right? Did you do something that was completely and utterly extraordinary? It's like there are some people who will talk to me about Kyrie Irving being, the catalyst in the 2016 NBA Finals. I mean, Kevin Love was an all-star. I think 3 to 4 years that he played, 3 to 8 years that he played there. I think Kyrie Irving is a better player than Kevin Love. But, what Kevin Love did while he was on that Cleveland Cavaliers team, I mean, don't forget, Kevin Love made the All-Star team in 2018, by the way. So with Kevin Love, I mean, Kevin Love made the All-Star team in 2018, made the All-Star team. I think he made the All-Star team in 2017 too. And he was an All-Star in 2015. So that kind of stuff matters. But to me, that kind of stuff matters. I'll say James, Brad Daugherty, Mark Price, Kevin Love. That's what I'm going to go with. Then I'll move from Cleveland. Then I'll move from Cleveland, and I think this is quite simple for me. I'll go from Cleveland to the Celtics, and I think that's simple. I don't really think that I have to do a lot of extracurricular. I don't have to do a lot of extracurricular research on the Boston Celtics. I think it's Bird. I think it's Bill Russell. Yeah, I think Bird, Bill Russell. Let's see, Bird, Bill Russell, Havlicek. And and Jason Tatum ain't there yet, but I think Bob Cousy is that guy. Mm-hmm. Jason Tatum is not there yet. He getting there. I think Jason Tatum is getting close. Definitely on his way to being there. But I think it's Russell, Bird, Havlicek, Bob Cousy. That's as far as I'm going. Yep. Yeah, I don't think that's difficult. Havlicek, he was right outside the top 5 in all time in points when he retired. There's only been in the history of the league, there's been 6 point guards to win league MVP. He's one of them. Bob Cousy, Oscar Robertson. Yeah, Bob Cousy, Oscar Robertson, Magic. Steve Nash, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry. So 7 point guards, and he's one of them to win league MVP. And I think that's a big deal. So I'm good with that. I'm good with that. So I think that's easy for me when it comes to Bob Cousy. Bob Cousy, Bird, Russell, Havlicek. Like I said, Havlicek, he finished right outside the top 5 all time in scoring. He came in as a rotation player and worked his way into the starting lineup and became an advocate, great starter. I think he's I think he's right outside the top. I think he's right outside the top 5. I definitely think he's a top 10 small forward of all time. I think he's a top 20 player of all time. Bill Russell, I think Bill Russell is arguably. I think Hakeem Olajuwon is the best defensive player in NBA history, but I can make an argument for Bill Russell being the best defensive player in NBA history. I think he's the second best defensive player in NBA history, right behind Hakeem Olajuwon. He's arguably, I think Chamberlain's the greatest rebounder in NBA history, and I think from Chamberlain, I think it goes Chamberlain, Dennis Rodman, Bill Russell. I think Bill Russell and Dennis Rodman. I think that those two guys. I think we can have a real conversation about who is a better rebounder between both Bill Russell and Dennis Rodman, because you got the best defense. You have the best defensive player of that generation, and in the process of having the best defensive player of that generation, they're winning NBA championships, and they're not that good offensively. So, because I'm that good defensively, because that's primarily how we win in NBA championships, he still holds the record for the second most rebounds in NBA history. He holds the record for the second most rebounds in an NBA game. He still holds the record for the most rebounds in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. He had 40 rebounds in Game 7. That still hasn't been duplicated before he did it, since he did it. And what can I say about Bird that hasn't already been said? I mean, he's arguably the most complete. Not arguably, he's one of the most complete small forwards the NBA has ever seen. 7 times in 9 years, he finished 1 or 2 in league MVP votes. That means that 7 times in 9 years, I'm arguably the best player in the league. And if I'm not the best player in the league, I'm the second best player in the league. 7 times in 9 years, that's going on. 7 times in 9 years, that's going on. One of the best passing small forwards before James showed up. Scottie Pippen passed him up all time in assists. I think he's a better passer than Scottie Pippen. And I think Scottie Pippen's a great passer, but I think that Bird was a better passer than Scottie Pippen. One of the most clutch players. So I'm gonna say Kuzi, Russ, Bird, Kuzi, Russ, Bird, Havlicek. I think that's, for me, I think that's simple. I already talked to you guys about Atlanta. The Knicks. The Mount Rushmore, this is 4 players. So we're gonna eliminate some guys like Carmelo Anthony. It's hard to consider Carmelo Anthony, considering, even though Carmelo Anthony was awesome. Bernard King is out, Carmelo Anthony is out. So Ewing is in. He's their all-time leading rebounder. He's their all-time points leader. He's their all-time blocks leader. Ewing is in. Willis Reed is in. Walt Frazier is in. And that 4th spot is where it gets a little bit tricky. I think Jalen Brunson he's got some more work to do, but I think that I think we're getting close when it comes to. I think that we're getting close when it comes to him. You know, guys like Allen Houston. Allen Houston played 7 years there, but I don't think Allen Houston is on the Mount Rushmore of New York Knicks. I think I can make an argument for Carmelo Anthony, one of the better bucket getters of his generation. Arguably the best bucket getter that the Knicks ever had. It didn't really translate to what we all wanted it to translate to, in terms of him being able to make deep playoff runs. I mean, he made some deep playoff runs. They went to the semifinals, and I mean, I count stuff like that. That kind of stuff matters to me. I do care about that kind of stuff. And I mean, they did end up making a deep playoff run, and with them making a deep playoff run like that, they ended up running into James. But I mean, Carmelo Anthony played 7 years. Yeah, I think he played 7 years for the Knicks. In the 7 years that he played for the Knicks, right? So in the 7 years that he played for the Knicks, he averaged 25 a game. in them 7 years that he played for the Knicks. That's better than Ewing. Mm-hmm. I think he's the best scorer that they ever had. Pure bucket getter. I think he's the best pure bucket getter that they've ever had. So, I think it would be I think it would be difficult. I don't think it would be that difficult to consider Carmelo Anthony. I don't think it'd be that difficult to consider Carmelo Anthony as being on the Mount Rushmore of New York Knicks greats. So, like guys like Charles Oakley, I can definitely hear an argument for Charles Oakley, considering he was an all-league defender. He was an all-star for the Knicks. One of the best defenders that they've ever had. I could get with that. I would entertain that conversation. But guys like Allen Houston, guys like John Starks, nah, I'm good. I'm straight on those guys. The Indiana Pacers. I mean, when you think about where their history started, right? When you think about where their history started, being in the ABA and going from the ABA to the NBA, I mean, they were nothing short of fantastic with Mel Daniels. I'm one of these people. I'm in the minority. I dug Vern Fleming. Like there's a lot of people who didn't really dig Vern. I dug Vern when he was in college, when he played at the University of Georgia. But I'm not sure if Rick Smits played up to the level for the Pacers long enough. I mean, I think we can have a conversation about Rick Smits, but because he played there his entire career. Like he played nowhere else. He played 13 years for the Pacers. He didn't play nowhere else. He retired after they lost in the finals in 2000. He retired. He was out. He didn't play anywhere else. So with that being said, right, I definitely think we can have a conversation about him. So Reggie Miller, Mel Daniels, Rick Smits. I think Rick Smits is their all-time shot block leader. I don't think Jermaine O'Neal played there long enough in Indiana. Well, actually, that's not true because he played there like 6 years, something like that, like 6-7 years. Yeah, he did play there like 6-7 years. And Jermaine O'Neal, unfortunately, he got a raw deal because I'm pretty confident. I had the Indiana Pacers in the 04-05 season. I had them before the Malice in the Palace. I had them winning the NBA championship. And that was largely due to Jermaine O'Neal. That was largely due to him being on the Pacers. I had them winning the NBA championship. He was nothing. He was in the conversation with some of the best power forwards in the game. Unfortunately, he wasn't the best power forward in the game, but I think he's the best power forward Indiana ever had. I think he's better than Dale Davis. I think he's better than. And am I comfortable saying that he was better than Mel Daniels? Am I comfortable with that? I do think that he could be the best power forward that they ever had. So Reggie, Rick Smits, Jermaine O'Neal, Mel Daniels. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going with that. That's where I'm going with Indiana. Even though Vern Fleming, I was a big time Vern Fleming fan. I dug me some Vern Fleming, man. Vern was awesome when he played in college. He went to Georgia. He was on that team that lost to NC State in the Final Four. Right? He was on that Georgia team that lost to NC State in the Final Four. That was the year after, unfortunately. That was the year after Dominique Wilkins went to the pros. Because if Neek comes back, I think Georgia wins the national championship that year. I'm one of those people who I believe that right there. I got a couple super chats. Let me read these real quick. Venus Sports Talk said, "What's your name?" Mars. Define name. I don't know what that means, but uh he has another super chat where he says, "Chill, who you got, Canelo or Crawford?" Um, to be honest with you, Crawford has been awesome. I mean, Canelo, even though Canelo's getting up there in age, he's still good. But I just think I think Crawford is pretty. I think Crawford is pretty awesome. Yeah, I think Crawford is pretty awesome. So I'm gonna go with Crawford. So anyway, I'm gonna say Reggie Miller, Rick Smits, Mel Daniels, and I want to put Vern Fleming on a. I want to put Vern Fleming on. I want to put Vern Fleming on their all time. I mean, he played of the 13 years he played in the NBA, 12 of them he played in Indiana. I want to put I want to put Vern Fleming on that Mount Rushmore so bad, but man, I'm gonna go with Jermaine O'Neal. Yes, I'm gonna go with Jermaine O'Neal, and I'm gonna stick with that. Yes. Uh, moving from Indiana, right? Moving from Indiana to Milwaukee. I think this is pretty. I think this is pretty simple for me, considering who the Milwaukee Bucks are. I mean, they had considering who the Milwaukee Bucks are. I don't think this is for me that difficult. So Jabbar, Giannis, Sidney Moncrief, and then it get then I feel like it gets tricky. So Jabbar, Giannis, Sidney Moncrief, and then is it Terry Cummins? Is it Marcus Johnson? Because I think Terry was better than Marcus Johnson. That's just me, right? That's just me. I think Terry Cummins was better than Marcus Johnson. So it's Terry Cummins, that fourth spot is Terry Cummins, Marcus Johnson, Ray Allen, and Big Dog. And I'm having a difficult time keeping Big Dog out of this conversation because I know that Glenn Robinson, I'm sorry. I know that Glenn Robinson isn't in a lot of you guys' all-time Milwaukee Bucks greats, just like Michael Redd is in your all-time Milwaukee Bucks great. Is Michael Redd, was Michael Redd a better Buck than Ray Allen was? I'm not sure. Mm-mm. I am not. I'm not sure that Michael Redd was a bet. He was not better than Jabbar. He was not better than Giannis, and he wasn't better than Sidney Moncrief. So I think that I think those three. I think those three are. They already have seats. The question is who's the fourth seat go to? And I mean, Marcus Johnson was awesome, right? I think Marcus Johnson is incredible, right? So, mm, yeah, I think Marcus Johnson was great. So, mm, Terry Cummins was a top 5 player at one point in his career. Uh, in the process of Terry Cummins being a top 5 player, right? In the process of Terry Cummins being a top 5 player, he was an all-star a bunch of years, right? With him being an all-star for a bunch of years. Um, and actually, I think Bob Dandridge was different. Right? Bob Dandridge was an all-star. He also, I think they with him, he played in the NBA championship. I can't just go off of feelings as much as I dig Ray Allen, right? As much as I dig Ray Allen, Ray only played there, I think 5 years. Yeah, I think Ray played there 5 years. He showed up in '96. Ray played there way longer than that. Ray went to Seattle, I want to say in like 2003, 2004. So I think Ray played there almost. Yeah, Ray played in Milwaukee. Yeah, I was right. 5 years. 2, 3, 4, 5. He played there 6 years. He showed up in '96, and he got traded to Seattle in '02. Yeah, so he played there 6 years. And in the 6 years that he played there, he was pretty phenomenal. Made the All-Star team a couple times. They made the All-Star team a couple times. Made the All-Pro team when he was in Milwaukee. So I mean, I'm not sure that I can keep Ray out, but I can say the same thing about Michael Redd too. I can say the exact same thing about Mike. Was Michael Redd a better Milwaukee Buck than that? Was Michael Redd a better Milwaukee Buck than Ray Allen? I mean, he made the All-Star team. He made the Olympic team. He made the All-Pro team just like Ray did. So I think Ray was a better player than Michael Redd. I'm not going to argue that point. I will not argue that point. I think, and Ray played. I'm sorry, Michael Redd, of the 12 years that he played in the league, 11 of them 12 years he played in Milwaukee. Right, 11 of them 12 years he played in Milwaukee. So but see this stuff right here, like I just off the strength of your name, I shouldn't really even take you seriously. But like when you say nobody cares about stat patterns who don't win, well, that's not true, because not every organization is the Lakers. Not every organization are the Knicks. Not every organization, is the Boston Celtics. No, there are the Charlotte Hornets of the world, right? There are the Washington Wizards of the world. There are, organizations like that don't win, even though Washington did win it 45 years ago. But with that being said, not every team wins the NBA championship, right? Not every there's plenty of teams that have not won the NBA championship, right? So I mean, Cleveland won it, which I'll give Cleveland credit for that with James. The Orlando Magic never won the NBA championship. So should I just discount what Shaq did there? Should I just discount what Dwight Howard did there? I can't do that, right? I can't do that. I mean, the Brooklyn Nets never won the NBA championship. They just didn't. New Orleans has not won the NBA championship. The Utah Jazz didn't win the NBA championship. So should I just discount what Stockton did? Should I discount what Malone did? Should I discount what Dr. Duncanstein did? Should I discount what Adrian Dantley did when he was there? No. Phoenix never won the NBA championship. So should I discount what Steve Nash did? That ain't fair. No, I'm not doing that. I'm absolutely not doing that. No, absolutely not. So I want you guys to hang on for a second, because I do want to hear from you guys. So what up?
What's good, brother? How you doing?
What up?
I like everything that you've been saying so far, though. The only thing I kind of disagree with is Kevin Love over Kyrie in Cleveland. I think a lot of people don't realize, even though he wasn't making the playoffs the first couple of years, he did make a mark in the league.
Yeah.
Before James and Kevin Love got there, he was an All-Star MVP that year.
Mm-hmm.
Was an All-Star caliber player, and he was an All-Star from that time until he left Cleveland. So he was a great player. There was he injury prone a little bit, yeah. But I think him and Kevin Love, they both was hurt that same playoff run of 2014. I just think Kyrie just did a little bit more. He was more big time than Kevin Love. But I understand why you would choose him, because he had been there longer. But Kyrie, while he was there though for 2011 to 2017, he was one of the more bona fide players in the NBA though. So that's about the only one I
that
disagree
point, I
with.
won't argue that. I mean, I don't. If there's anybody that, I mean, Kyrie made the All-Pro team in
Yep.
15. So
Yep.
Kyrie Irving wasn't a good player for Cleveland. He was elite. That point, I'm not gonna argue that point at all. I mean, I think that Kyrie Irving was nothing short of fantastic when he played there, right? So the problem is the first couple of years. I mean, I think he made the All-Star team in year 2.
Yeah, he did. He
Yeah,
did.
I think he made the All-Star team in year 2. If I'm not mistaken, I mean, if I go back, and I still hate the fact that he got traded. I really wish he would.
Yeah.
I really wish he would have stayed
Hey,
there.
but you know, when he got traded, he had Boston with the best record, and he was one of the MVP candidates till he got hurt that year. You know,
Nah,
so
well, I mean, before he ended up getting traded, I think that Cavs team could have won more had he not gotten traded. I'm not sold that they wouldn't have won it again, even though the Golden State Warriors had Kevin D. I'm not sold that the Cavs wouldn't have won it again. I think that they could have
would have
gotten
made
some.
adjustments. They would have
Yeah,
made
I
some
think they would have
adjustments.
got some luck on their side, and I think that they would have won it again. But I just feel like what Kevin Love did, being there for the 8 years that he was there, in the 8 years that he played there, you know, he was making the All-Star team. He was making deep playoff runs with James. That team that went to the NBA championship in 18, where everybody talks about James didn't have any help. Kevin Love made the All-Star team that year.
He did, and
Kevin Love,
he was big. He was big time in that playoff run as
yeah,
well, though. They
yes,
just
sir, he
ran.
was.
They just ran into that juggernaut at Golden State. It was nothing that they could do
Who
about
was
that.
beating them in 18? Who was beating that
No,
Golden State team?
nobody was. Kevin Durant was all time confident. He wasn't gonna let up. You seen how he was doing every game 3 that came up. Kevin Durant was coming through for Golden State, so
He just looked different, and at that time, he looked like a different player.
he
When I
was on
saw him in
another. He was in another
17,
world. He was in
yeah, when
another
I saw him
world.
in 17 when they played against the Cavs, it looked like the dude you seen in 2012 when you see me in the finals. This ain't that dude. It's a different dude that's standing in front of you today. And I mean, I respected that about him. But when I talk about my criteria, when I'm talking about all-time great players that played for organizations, I mean, how long you played there, I think that
That
matters.
matters. It
And
matters.
if you played there for a short period of time, you have to have done something extraordinary. Like, for example, what James did in Miami. James only played there 4 years. He the only league MVP. He won the Finals MVP twice when he was there. Right? They won 66 games when he was there. They broke I think it's second all time for the most wins in franchise history.
He did that. Yeah, he did that.
I
That's
feel
an
like
anomaly. That's an anomaly.
Yeah, I feel like that's an exception right there.
Yep.
However, when you have guys who've played there for a longer period of time, like Dwayne Wade played in Miami for a longer period of time. With him playing in Miami for a longer period of time, with him doing the things that he did before James showed up, plus while James showed up. And let's not forget that when James left, he still was making the playoffs after James showed up.
Chris Bosh just had that unfortunate blood clot situation.
Yes, because if we're being honest,
they was a playoff team then.
I thought I was going to see them in the East Finals in 16. Yeah, I thought against the Cavs. I thought I was going to see them in the East Finals before Chris Bosh ended up going out of the lineup. So yeah, man, I think about my criteria. I can appreciate the Kyrie Irving logic. I just think about like how long you did it, and was it more extraordinary than what this dude did in a shorter period of time?
Hey, but he had that, that 3-1 comeback, and how he had those back-to-back 40-point games in that finals though. That is a big thing though. They made history together. Kevin Love was a part of that too. But what Kyrie did with those back-to-back 40 balls, man.
Let's not leave out in Game 7. I know y'all dudes talk about Kyrie Irving hit that shot. Just so you know, Kevin Love has 16 rebounds in that game.
And he had a key defensive stop at
That's
the
a
end
big
of that
deal.
game. And he had a key defensive stop. So.
Yeah, I like that. That's a huge deal to pull down 16 boards in the Game 7 NBA Finals. I think that's a big deal. That's just me. But good to talk to you, my dude. Good to talk to you. Absolutely.
Man, good to talk to you, brother. Yep. Salute.
I think that's a big deal, man. I mean, to pull down that many rebounds, to be able to do that kind of work in a Game 7, yeah, that's a big deal for me. I won't argue that point. Yo, what up, Jay?
Yo, what's good, Chill? Peace and blessings, brother. What's good,
up, brother? What up?
Nothing much, man. Did you give your Mount Rushmore for my Heat?
I was actually going to do them. I was going to do. Let me see who I'm up to. I was up to Milwaukee, and I was going to get the Miami next.
Who you got from Miami? Then? Who you got? Who's Miami's Mount Rushmore?
Wade, Lonzo Mourning, James, and that fourth one. I'm having a difficult time with that fourth one because I know this might sound crazy, right? I know this might sound crazy to you, but like I really like what Udonis Haslem did for that crew.
I was gonna say, how you not gonna put UD in this? I don't understand how you.
I really like what Udonis Haslem did with that crew, man. You
live down here long enough to know UD is on the team. Yeah, but you gotta take James. You gotta take James out. You gotta put in Glenn Rice. You gotta put in Glenn Rice.
Well, again, Jay, this goes back to what we talked about in terms of like when we talk about Magic, right? We talk about Joker. Like guys do something extraordinary. They're exceptions. Like Magic was an exception offensively. Joker is an exception. Like we talk about his defense and how he's not that good defensively, but he's so good offensively. What James did in that 4 years that he was down in Miami was an exception, which, by the way, I'm still kicking myself to this day. Jay, you know, I only went to see him one time when he was down here. Once.
I never got a chance to see him while he played down here. I never got a chance. So you lucky.
Time. I'm still sick over that. I'm thinking to myself, I had this dude down here for 4 years and I only went to see him one time. That's it.
It was expensive. It was expensive to see him then. It was just like when Shaq came down here. When Shaq came down here, the tickets went up, skyrocketed. Yeah. But when that 07 season, after we won the championship, and that going into that 08 season when we traded Shaq away, the tickets went down. That's how I was able to see Shaq at the end of his career at the end. But I never got a chance to see LeBron James as a Miami Heat player neither as well.
I was there in 14 when y'all played against Indiana in the East Finals. I was at Game 4. Yeah, I was there for that. But I think to myself, I feel like that's an exception for a dude to play 20 years for your organization. That's a big deal, yo. He might not be.
Yes. No, UD's on the list. UD's definitely on the list.
He might not be an all-pro. He might not have been an all-star. But what he did for that crew, I mean, he's a star. Of the 4 championships, let's see, they got 3 of them. Yeah, they got 3 of them, and they were in the NBA Finals 5 times. He was a starter on that 2016 starter. That 2011 team, he started on that team too. They lost. That's fine. He was a heavy rotation guy on that 2012 team that won. Heavy rotation guy on that 2013 team that won. So he's been around for such a long time. I think he's there. I think UD, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's the all-time leading rebounder. I think he's the all-time leading rebounder.
He might just be. Now that you say that,
I
never thought of that. Even more than Zoe. I don't know. Maybe not more than Zoe.
And if he's not, he's close to Zoe. Definitely
he's
in the top 3.
Oh, he's definitely in the top 5 for sure. Again, yeah, he should be in the Mount Rushmore for Miami UD for sure. That's when you say 305, Udonis Haslem is definitely in there. You got to put Wade in there. You got to put Zoe in there. I get what you're saying about LeBron, but for me, the Mount Rushmore, like I always tell people, it's more about the foundation of something more than the best or the greatest of something. When you look at the Mount Rushmore of the American presidents, the guys that are on there are not the greatest presidents ever. They just represent the foundation of the country and what the country represents. So when you think about what the culture is built off of. So when you think about the Heat culture, you think about Glenn Rice, especially if you go back to the 90s, you think about Glenn Rice. He was the first superstar they drafted. I know Ronnie Cycle's the first guy they drafted, but still the first superstar they ever drafted was Glenn Rice. So because of that, I feel like he should be on the Mount Rushmore. We didn't draft Zoe. We did draft Dwayne Wade. So we could put Dwayne Wade there because he represents the new, like I tell people, he represents like Abraham Lincoln. He's the new, he's the new transition of the Heat. Zoe is like the founding fathers, but for LeBron to be there, as much as I like the 2 championships we have, like I always tell people, it's kind of a stain in Miami when we only have those 4 years with that team. You know what I mean? It's hard to just say, well, we had 4 years. That was it. We just had 4 years. That was really it. It was great. Don't get me wrong.
But it was a comment. And that's the exception right there. And here's the downside to that, though. I mean, Glenn, his best years was the year after he left Miami and went to Charlotte. Them 3 years where he was an all-star. Where he was in the
all NBA team,
the year y'all come off of him, he go up to Charlotte, and now he's going deep in the playoffs. He's making an all-star team. He's making the all-pro team. He's one of the better shooters in the game, which he was like that I think he was the MVP of the All-Star game in '97, if I'm not mistaken.
I
It was
think so
either
too.
I think he was the
He
I
balled
think he was
out.
the
I think
MVP.
you're right. I think he does have one All-Star MVP as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
I
used to
think he was
love
All-Star.
Glenn Rice. Glenn Rice, as a
Yes.
child, I used to love Glenn Rice. Glenn Rice was definitely a baller, man.
Yes.
Again, I like that list. Like, it never hurts to put Goat James in any top list because he deserves it. He's worthy of any praise that goes on in the world, no
I
matter
just
how much the Jesse Jeffries don't like it.
they really don't. They really don't. And I think that the biggest problem that we have is, with my logic being, how long did you do it? Like James, well, he was only there for 4 years, but when you look at his resume in the 4 years that he played there, I mean, he finished second in Defensive Player of the Year. He won the league MVP twice when he was there.
Mm-hmm.
He shot 40% at the long ball line. He was doing stuff like that. I mean, the team won 66 games. They went on a 28-game win streak. I thought they were going to break that Lakers streak. The Lakers in '72. He was a part of that, right? He won the league MVP in back-to-back years. Like, stuff like that. If you're doing that in a short period of time, it's difficult for me. That's like, if Kawhi Leonard would have stayed in Toronto and he would have done it for a couple of more years, I think we could have a conversation about him being an all-time great on the Mount Rushmore of Toronto Raptors. But to only be there 1 year, even though they won the NBA championship, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I got you. But I can't leave you without a GJK statement. My partner says this all the time when we talk about 2013 LeBron. If you look back in the annals of history in NBA, LeBron's 2013 season is the only season where we can literally say somebody was the best player in the NBA on both sides of the floor, the best defensive player in the league and the best offensive player, without a doubt, was the 2013 LeBron James. We can't say that for any other player in NBA history.
Well, some people will argue with you that Jordan was the best player on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball in '88. I ain't buying that.
When? What year was that? That's what I'm saying. What year was that?
In '88, some people will argue with you that
He wasn't
Jordan,
the best defensive player in 1988 for sure. Let's just get that out of there. And he definitely wasn't the best offensive player in '88 neither. Let's get that out of the way.
He was the best bucket getter. He definitely was the best bucket getter. But
that's fine. He could be the best bucket. He wasn't better offensively than Magic in '88 for sure.
Bird neither.
Or Bird. Exactly.
Bird
LeBron was the best player offensively and defensively in 2013, hands down. Hands down. Hands down. Without a doubt.
I don't know if I hate it. I don't know if I hate it.
Man. You can go run a PC and tell them that, since they be mad about everything else you say. All right, brother. Peace.
Go with a 5 year, Jay. Out, brother. Y'all know what it is, man. When I get with my man Jay, it is what it is. Yeah. So Milwaukee, Miami. When I think about like the Detroit Pistons, well, I think that that's something that can be a little bit tricky, right? I think that that's something that we can, I think we can have a conversation about a couple of guys. I definitely think that, and I won't argue it. I definitely think that Isaiah Thomas is on the Mount Rushmore Piston players, and with Isaiah Thomas being on a Mount Rushmore of, I don't think that that's a conversation. To be honest with you, I don't. I don't think that's a question. But there are some other guys, right? I think there's some other guys like Bob Lanier. Grant Hill played there for 6 years. Ben Wallace. Can I put Chauncey Billups on there? Not ahead of Isaiah. Joe Dumars. I mean, Joe Dumars played there the longest. Joe Dumars there for 14 years. I think Joe Dumars is on the Mount Rushmore of I think he's on the Mount Rushmore of Detroit Pistons players. So I definitely think that we have to honor that. So Isaiah, Joe Dumars, Ben Wallace, and maybe Bob Lanier. Was Bob Lanier better than Bill Laimbeer? I think so. I think as a Detroit Piston, yes, I think so. Mm-hmm. I can definitely get with that. So, Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars are the only two guards backcourt. The only two backcourt players to win Finals MVP. Not just win Finals MVP, do it in back-to-back years. Adrian Dantley didn't play. Adrian Dantley played there 3 years. He showed up in like 86. He showed up from 86 to 89. I think we can consider putting Adrian Dantley more on the Utah Jazz. I think we could put Adrian Dantley on the Utah Jazz Mount Rushmore more than we could put him on the Detroit Pistons Mount Rushmore. I definitely think that. So, I mean, and again, I think Adrian Dantley was great. There's a lot of people who Mark Aguirre is one of those guys who is ridiculous enough to think that, you know, he was better than Adrian Dantley. No, he wasn't. No, he was not. He was just a better fit for, right. I think that he was just a better fit for what the Pistons was doing. He wasn't a better player. No, he was definitely not a better player than he was definitely not a better player than Adrian Dantley. No, he wasn't. He was just a better fit for what was going on. And I could definitely get with your logic with Dave Bing. Yes, I could get with your logic with Dave Bing. Dave Bing was awesome in Detroit. Yes, he was. He was a bucket getter, but I don't think he was better than Joe D. I do not think that he was better than Joe Dumars. I think what Joe Dumars gave up on the offensive end, even though Joe Dumars was phenomenal as a scorer, I think that he compounded that, how great he was as a defender. And Dave Bing was not that as a Detroit Piston. And on top of that, Joe D played there for 14 years. On top of that, yeah, he played there for 14 years. So, I mean, I can't discount that. So, Isaiah, Joe D, Ben Wallace, Bob Lanier. Those are the guys that I'm thinking about for the Pistons in terms of their Mount Rushmore. The Orlando Magic might be something a little bit different, because I think that I don't think that this is something that like goes that far. Dwight Howard, Shaq, Penny, Tracy McGrady. I won't waste a lot of time with that one. Yes, Dwight Howard, Shaq, Penny, Tracy McGrady, and Nick Anderson was there for a lot of years. Nick Anderson was there for a lot. I think Nick Anderson played there for like something like 6-7 years in something like that. What did I say? 7 years? No, he played there like 8-9 years. Yeah, he played there a lot of years. So was Nick Anderson a better Orlando Magic than Penny? No, he wasn't. He was not. So I'm gonna stick to my guns, and I'll go Dwight Howard, Shaq, Penny, Tracy McGrady. I think those are the four best. Now, when I talked about Orlando already, this one might get a little bit spicy, because the Bulls, I mean, I think that there's three that are undeniable. I do. I think that there's three that are undeniable, right? So, and that's Jordan, that's Pippen, and that's Derrick Rose. Now, the $1 million question is with those three guys, like I said, Jordan, Pippen. I mean, Artis Gilmore didn't play with the Bulls. Artis Gilmore played with the Bulls for 5 years, and he was awesome with them. So I think we can have that conversation about Artis Gilmore being the third best. But when I think about who that other guy was, Jordan, Pippen, is Jerry Sloan in that conversation? Like when I think about when I think about the best players to ever play there, AB. I think so. And no, sir, I don't think Rodman was better than Horace Grant. No. I do not think that Rodman was better than Horace Grant on the Chicago Bulls. Rodman was on the other side of who he was them last 3 years. He did lead the league in rebounding. I'm not going to argue that point. But Horace for those 7 years was so much better as an offensive as a scorer and on defense for that time. I mean, they got Dennis on the other side of who he was as a defender. Dennis wasn't great. So he still was good though. He still was really good. So we will definitely pick this up. Right. I definitely want to continue this, and I will continue this. And we'll pick this up again. So I will get back with you guys soon because it's about that time for me to bounce. It was good to see you guys tonight. I will see you guys soon, sooner than you think. And we will get back to this. But until then, put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother. When last time you talked to your mother? Call your mother. I will talk to you guys soon. But until then, take it light. Take it. Absolutely, man. It was good to see you guys. No doubt.